welcome to the second review of the evening. Up this time is Astro's Playroom. So, from the team behind the critically acclaimed PlayStation VR adventure Astrobot Rescue Mission comes a brand new platformer preloaded on your PlayStation 5 console. Experience 4 worlds, each showcasing innovative gameplay using the new and versatile features of the PlayStation 3 DualSense wireless controller. The game, yeah.
You said 3.
So, no, I said PlayStation 5. Anyway, so yeah, this is a bit of an unusual thing to have on the show. It's mainly because the game Petty was supposed to review, Perfect Heist 2, did not pan out.
Yeah.
So this is here as not just a last-minute replacement, but more PlayStation 5 testing.
Yeah.
So, as mentioned, this is the second game, I think, in the Astro franchise.
I believe so.
Yeah, they're not just making up Astro out of whole cloth to have a playroom. It's a pre-existing character from a thing.
Yeah, and I do remember that Astro Bot Rescue Mission was highly regarded for the PlayStation VR setup.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people enjoyed it, so I'll never know if I can have a PlayStation VR because I don't like feeling I need to vomit whenever I use a, console.
As we've established, So, is it me or does this look like the kind of game that Nintendo would provide, like a PlayStation 5 or something like that?
Oh yeah, this is very much. If you told me this was Sony Nintendo Land, I would believe you.
Maybe not that. Maybe not that far, because this game isn't whimsical enough.
Hey, that's valid.
Like, I will say, like, Nintendo generally doesn't go around this kind of aesthetic. It's a bit hard to describe because, it's cutesy and mascot driven, but it's not overly so, if that makes any sense.
Well, and
like
it is cool that there are a hell of a lot of references here. Like, I literally just went past Aloy, Monster Hunter, Crash we saw at the beginning of the level.
Well, that's the other thing that makes this very Nintendo-esque.
Mm-hmm.
It's just chock full of references to the history of the PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, once again, that is something Nintendo's been doing for ages now.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Bloodborne reference.
Curious. For something like this.
I mean, it makes sense. Sony actually does own that IP.
Right, but it's an M-rated IP. Like,
yeah.
Like, I mean, like, Nintendo would kind of do things like that with, say, Bayonetta and
I was
Smash
gonna say,
Brothers.
I mean, Bayonetta's in Smash Brothers.
But, from what I remember, that was a huge pain in the ass to actually do. Because, Bayonetta is not a kid-friendly character.
And no, she is not.
On the other hand, they do basically own her now, so...
I'm honestly surprised that Nintendo hasn't gone out and actually bought the franchise from Sega. Given that they are still financing games as recently as this year, but that's getting off track here. So another thing that makes this thing very, in the column of Nintendo is this is a showcase for the capabilities of the DualSense controller. So, Petty, how does that work out? Like, how is this as a showcase for the DualSense?
Honestly, fine. Like, I don't know if it picks up well on my microphone, but there's a little speaker in the controller that Astro makes noise through. It has the haptic engine stuff. That it's almost like Nintendo's HD Rumble, only a little not as good, if that makes sense.
I mean, I think that makes a fair amount of sense. It's
better
like
than the
HD.
original, like just DualShock motors. It uses the haptic triggers in some things, as well as the gyroscope. It's like it uses
Unsurprising, considering that this is largely a PS5 gimmicks tech showcase.
It also uses
Right.
microphones you can blow in it a la DS style.
God, why are we still dealing with that kind of thing?
Luckily, if
Like,
you have the controller muted, it will do it for you. It's not like DS era where hopefully your mic works or you're boned.
That was an
Right.
issue with certain games.
It was. I still can't finish Spirit Tracks because of that. Anyway.
Anyway, so the downside for such things, as we once again go back to the Nintendo is that this might just be the showcase for the DualSense controller. Because at least with Nintendo, when it comes to their gimmickry, they'll make a game, maybe a few games that'll feature it, and then move on. Like, I'm not sure how much Sony is actually taking advantage of the DualSense capabilities in their projects.
Like, I know the closest I've also seen is Final Fantasy 16 does also use the haptic triggers, but that's it.
I will note that Final Fantasy 16 is the rare third party that is actually built for the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
There is no Xbox Series version. There's not even a PC version of that yet.
Yeah, that's a yet.
That's mainly because Sony bribed Square Enix to not even release a PC version. But, when it comes to, say, God of War, Ragnarok, or Spider-Man 2, I'm trying to remember. I think, things like the haptic feedback are taken advantage of. But once again, these are subtler features of, it's not like, most of Nintendo's gimmickry. It's more like, well, as you mentioned, the HD Rumble. There are a few games that take advantage of that, but not all that many.
Right.
Especially as time went on.
A lot of games are just using it for just a regular Rumble.
Yeah. So, or if you want, to get back into the PlayStation family, the capabilities of the PlayStation 4, that touchpad and was not taken advantage of all that much.
Oh no,
but, or the PlayStation Vita. How many people know it has a
backglass touchscreen?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, so there's a lot of concern that the capabilities of the DualSense just end up falling into that. And once again, the video game industry is littered with this.
Oh yeah.
Once again, Sony, the pressure sensitive buttons of the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, they actually did make a joke on that. One of the things in this game is there is little artifacts like of various consoles, and they did actually make a joke about the pressure sensitive buttons when I found the DualShock 2. I will try and go. Right now, this is like another one of those little gimmick things. So, like, you use the haptic controllers or the haptic triggers and the tilt to kind of make it through the level.
Once again, that's harkening back to another Sony gimmick, the 6-axis.
Right.
Like probably the most dreaded of all Sony gimmicks.
Oh yeah. God damn. I remember the fucking OG 6-axis controller. Nobody liked that.
No.
We couldn't make it work. It's absolutely there were definitely no rights confusions about the rumble functionality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was another part of the problem. It made it feel too light, but that's not what this controller is.
Right. It's like the point is there's a fair amount of 2007 vintage PlayStation 3 games that are still utterly fucking ruined by that gimmick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Poor
The
layer.
only fun use of that gimmick was if you had a dynamic wallpaper, like the starting one. If you move your control, you can change the star pattern.
Yeah. So, thankfully, it sounds like the DualSense gimmickry isn't in that column.
Yeah. And like, I guess something else I can show off real quick is, like, if you get this bow weapon, you can actually feel the trigger get caught as you pull it back. So that's kind of cool.
On the other hand, this isn't like a touch screen or anything like that. This is real physical stuff here.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how much haptic feedback is really needed.
I know I've actually turned it down because it's kind of a waste of battery. And yeah, this is the PlayStation Museum in here where you can get various PlayStation artifacts through your journeys.
Yeah.
And then there are like a few murals in the back. And then there's a little gotcha thing over here. Luckily, it takes no real money. You earn all the coins in game. And then you just kind of pull and use the triggers to break the little thing. I mean, it's a nifty.
Those are rather large arms as part of this device.
Yeah, and like you can even move
I'm sure
it
nothing
around.
nothing could ever go wrong by having large arms that are strong enough grip to break these balls.
Yep. And then here's one of the artifacts.
Okay.
So we have the PS3 Slim. And you can like move it around. Some of them you can even hit the touch thing in the middle to like interact with it in some way.
I have the overwhelming urge to play a Pikmin game now.
You're not the only person who's had that idea.
I don't doubt that.
And now we have the Super Slim. And you can open and close the disc slider.
Door go open, door go closed.
And like there are other like little Easter eggs in here. Like you can actually kind of read some of the serial numbers, have like little jokes on them and stuff like that, or like other various references.
So it seems like this game sets out what it wants to do.
Oh yeah.
Serving as the tech demo for the capabilities of the DualSense. Like, as far as being a graphical showcase of the PlayStation 5, this ain't it.
It actually does do some cool stuff with like the real-time ray tracing. Like, if you saw some of the reflections,
its aesthetic isn't realistic, which is part of the selling thing. But the background art is extremely detailed, which, like, the environmental art is extremely detailed, which is one of the things that they were trying to sell it on.
Yeah.
Right, but that's actually a reference to that PlayStation 2 launch game with the fireworks. I can't remember right now the name of.
Right.
Like, but my point is, like, this isn't Wii Sports level pack-in.
Yeah.
Or Super Mario Brothers or Sonic the Hedgehog. And like, a fully featured game, and yeah, I'll include Wii Sports in that. Like, I know that was much more tech demo-y than, say, Super Mario World, but that was still fully featured enough for a lot of Wii families, wasn't it? Astro's Playroom, not so much, I would say.
It's definitely like, once you get done with it, you're probably not going to want to come back to it.
Right.
But I mean, it's not like the worst thing I've ever, messed around with.
Fantavision, there we go. That's the game. Sony's only launch title for the PlayStation 2. They didn't want to get in the way of the third parties.
Fair.
Anyway, yeah. And it looks like, this is better than, say, Connected Ventures. Or Sony, like, I'd say Sony's own Sports Champion, the pack-in for the Move, but I heard really good things about the fencing mini-game. Like, anyway. The point is, like, honestly, this reminds me more of, like, the 3DS pack-in software. Remember that?
Face shooter thing?
Yeah, like Face Raiders and Street Pass Fighter.
Yeah, I can see that.
More robust than that stuff, but it's still functionally the same. Like, this, this isn't a pack-in in the sense of, this game is strong enough to be a draw alongside this console. It's not Tetris for the Game Boy.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
You're not buying this and being like, ooh, I hope I got the version with Astro's Playroom. You're like, oh, hey, cool, there's a game on here.
Yeah. This is, once again, this is more on the level of, say, Hexic HD, which was the technical pack-in title for the Xbox 360 at launch.
Yep. Either that or Uno, depending on,
when you bought that.
Yeah. Oh, there are a lot of pack-ins for the 360.
Well, there's a difference between pack-ins and bundles.
Valid.
The pack-in, that's the game that, like, all the that's the default. That's, not limited, not a store's running it. That's, you buy this comes with every console.
Yep.
Outside of Japan. Because, like, Japan really, really doesn't do packing games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except the PlayStation 4, ironically enough. They got knack. Like,
oh god, I forgot knack existed.
most of the world forgot knack existed.
You're not
But-
wrong there.
But, you know, I mean, having knack as a pack-in managed to get knack a sequel, knack 2. Yeah, knack got a sequel. You know, so there are many different kinds of packing games is what we're getting at here.
Mhm.
This is, you know, a nifty throw-in title, you know,
Right.
that you can mess around in. It's not designed to occupy months of your time, like, say, if you bought the Spider-Man 2 PlayStation 5 bundle, or I'm not sure if they're offering a Final Fantasy 16 bundle right now.
They did, but the two bundles out right now, either Spider-Man 2 or Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Like, you know, like,
yeah, I'll be playing Spider-Man 2 more than I will be this. Granted, you need to finish Spider-Man 1 first, but...
like, you know, I think we've made the delineation clear on what this is. You
It's
know,
a fun little diversion, and it's also not so big, it's not worth straight up deleting. It's nice to have around just in case your DualSense 5-star or DualShock 5-star acting up. Because there is a actual controller demo feature in the main menu. So I can go into that real quick.
Yeah.
And it just, like, you can test all the functions of your controller. Yes,
Sounds like it might be the worthwhile calibration tool.
You can't really calibrate anything, just test the functions, if that makes sense. Oh, it is dual sensor. But yeah, like, as you see the block filling up, I can actually feel the motors roll up across the screen, or across the DualShock, when before it would just be, you know, the spinning vibration motors. And then, like, you can actually feel resistance on the triggers.
Yeah.
The touchpad. And, like, they do the same, like, motion sensor type deal, like with the Ice demo for the Switch. Like, was it when you Switch that had that?
I think so, but
like, I can actually feel like there's things rattling around it in the controller. It's not just like, you know, just, ooh, look at the controller model move around.
Yeah. In case you're wondering why controllers cost like $70 to $150 these days, this is why they keep jamming.
Yeah, they put a lot of technology in the controllers to make them
Except
be
for
able
the
to do.
Xbox controller. It's literally just the Xbox controller that has not changed much since the Xbox.
They fiddle with the button shapes every once in a while.
Yeah, the only thing that keeps changing on Xbox controllers is the D-pad. Because I have an Xbox Series controller in my hand right now, and with its, you know, particular D-pad. Like, also worth noting, I think Steam just added functionality for the DualSense.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Like,
there's
with some of the artifacts,
yeah,
you can actually like mess with the sticks and stuff. So that's one of the sticks and the buttons and the
yeah.
it's a cool touch. But yeah, I think I can't think of anything else. The game itself is fine. It's a 3D collectathon that we've seen millions of times at this point.
Yeah. I mean, and, you know, this game can't really be rated in our usual fashion because, you know,
I mean, would you go out and buy a PS5 just for this? No. Are you?
Yeah.
Would you hate it because it's included? No. Would you probably play it for at least a little bit? Sure. Is it nice to have just in case your controller's acting up? Sure.
But it's also it's not a game you can buy.
Right.
You know,
once your PlayStation 5 is registered, Astro's Playroom immediately becomes registered to your account.
Yep. So
I could delete it and re-download it whenever I so desire.
Which puts it above Hexic HD. It's like if you deleted that off of your Xbox 360, you had to send your console to Microsoft to get a new download. Mm-hmm. Something like that. Look, things were a lot different in 2005.
Yeah, it was weird back
then. But yeah, it's also a game that I would not expect to ever leave the PlayStation 5.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those. This is its final resting place. It may become backwards compatible on the PlayStation 6 if that happens. So I guess when, but like, it really depends on if they move forward with the DualSense line or not.
Right. Anyway, so yeah, I think that'll about do it for Astro's Playroom here. Mm-hmm. Be sure to tune in after the break as the Galax will be reviewing Hades Nebula.